think I spoke recently about people pleasing. I had a job to do today. Found it interesting. He's a member of the Microsoft Insider program, my customer. Built his own computer, has his own YouTube channel, has all the fancy hardware that a higher-end YouTube studio has. Full-size cameras, professional lighting. And yet, he hired me to reinstall Windows. I guess he's one of those knows enough to be dangerous. And I suppose, well, running a YouTube studio has its own technical skills. I find it interesting that he needed my help to install Windows. Totally professional, gave him what he wanted. It's hard as the professional to figure out where my customer skill set is. So I helped him at like 4 or 5 in the evening or afternoon. Calls me 3 hours later, frantic, can't find his data. Now he totally gave me permission to totally wipe his machine. This particular computer he uses has like 5 hard drives in it. So I tell him to open it up before we reinstall Windows. Unplug all the physical drives, except the one that he wants Windows on. That's what we did. We reinstalled Windows on that computer, on that hard drive. What do you think happened? His data was on a particular partition on his main C drive. And he was doing it not for performance, but for organization. So, because he knew enough to be dangerous, didn't totally understand how partitions work, he's calling me up at 7 p.m., can't find his data. I was professional as I knew how to be. All you can do is not be the people pleaser. People are going to make their own decisions. 10 years ago, more years than that ago, I would have felt really guilty. Now, I don't think he was trying to lay a guilt trip on me, but I think he was genuinely hoping I would have some sort of magic trick to pull. But I've grown a bit. I just kind of nod my head on my side of the phone. He doesn't know that's how relaxed I am. I understand he made a mistake. He didn't understand where his data was. Now, he had a bunch of Synology backups that are apparently sort of backed up. Couldn't articulate exactly when they were last backed up. But there's a certain confidence I've earned myself. I recognize he made a mistake. Now, I understand it's partially because he didn't have enough skill to understand how his data was being managed. But I also have learned not to become high in anxiety or a people pleaser because that job didn't go well. He got his Windows install. His issue originally was his USB ports weren't working. Now, he was skilled enough to build his computer, and I think he called me several days ago about having to come over and seeing if I can get his USBs to work again. He was savvy enough to figure out it was a software issue. Now, I don't want to sit in front of a computer for multiple hours and screw around with your system registry. First thing I did is tell him, I don't want to mess around with your computer. If you want me to fix it, I'll reinstall Windows. So we had our 5-minute conversation. He decided he didn't want to go that route, but then he calls me a few days later. Okay, so that's when I ended up showing up and helping him. All you can show is empathy when someone makes that mistake. I've made mistakes. 20 years ago, I didn't know much about computers. I mean, I in high school is where I really discovered it. But let's just say 20 so years ago, I was a lot less skilled than I am now. I would have assumed I made a mistake somewhere. I now know this particular job. I didn't make any mistakes. He wanted his problem fixed. Now, he might have been hasty about telling me to just go ahead and do it, but I can't take blame for that. He might have just oversaw that he had data and didn't realize it on the particular drive because he didn't understand how partitions work. Partitions are dividers on a hard drive. It's possible to have one hard drive and have the computer behave like it has more than one. So when I deleted the multitude of partitions across several hard drives, physical drives that he had in his computer, he apparently had data on the machine that he didn't understand where it was exactly. Before I reinstalled Windows, I physically plugged in or unplugged the extra drives that he had. As an outsider, there's no way I can know what he's got going on as far as his data goes. I could examine the hardware, but without having to have him give me a tour of his data, there's no way I can know. So I don't know if there's a whole lesson for me to learn in this, but I do feel that I've grown in the last 10, 20 years. I have less anxiety. I've earned certain amounts of confidence in knowing that certain customers are going to have their own issues. And I can't take the blame and be that people pleaser. I feel bad for him. I think he said he was going to call me tomorrow because he called me at like 7. Obviously, if he's calling me after 7, it's not usually when you call someone as a professional. It's a little late in the evening. But I think he's going to need some hand-holding. He's going to call me sometime tomorrow to see if I can resurrect his data somewhere. Now, he's got tens of thousands of dollars of computer equipment he knows a little bit about. Unfortunately, he didn't hire someone, either me or someone like me, to help set things up. Now, I understand most people will go to Costco, spend whatever it is they can on a computer. They're not thinking about hiring a professional. They don't know the value. They don't understand why. You go buy a car, you go turn the key and hit the gas and you're good. You could do that with a computer. But there's certain things, if you don't do, months or years later, it's going to bite you in the butt. If you don't prep yourself with a good backup plan, you're going to be in trouble. You need to know how to handle dealing with a failed computer. Now, what I ultimately told him is that when he rebuilds the system, take a snapshot, create a bit-for-bit locker, a bit-for-bit clone of the drive, name it, date it, maybe put my name on it so you know what interaction was involved, and refer to it. The next time your computer has a virus or your drivers go wonky, like in this case, his USBs all stopped working and wanted me to go digging around in the registry, I'm thinking, no. So that's pretty much it. The lesson I got from this, that I've grown a lot. I didn't have any guilt or any anxiety about someone else's issue. I did what I was paid to do. I gave him the proper interaction, made sure he understood we are about to wipe this machine clean. And he said, yeah, go ahead. I also went through the motions of Let's open it up and see what physical storage you have in there. And unplugged everything except the one drive he had Windows on. So, I feel good about the way I handled that. I charged him for a half-hour labor because that's about how long it takes to reinstall Windows. And he was clearly more savvy than most of my customers. So I installed Windows. While it was installing, I got paid and I left at around a half hour. I told him I'd show up for a half hour if he can get me out of there for a half in a half hour. I would be good with that. In the past, I was charging 180 minimum to show up, but I understand there's a few jobs like Windows installs that I can do in a very short period of time. Now, frankly, that's not a total complete product, but this customer was clearly savvy. He could do his own software downloads. But clearly, he was in one of these situations where he knows enough to be dangerous, but he doesn't necessarily know what he doesn't know. That's always a danger. When someone kind of knows something, they think they know more than they know. So unfortunately, what he should have done is had someone like me help him back up so he can get some direction and a better understanding of where his data is. So anyway, I guess that's all I got for the night. I didn't say anything yesterday. I just didn't feel like blabbing. But here I am. It's a Wednesday evening. It's going to be a busy rest of the week, so that's good. I have jobs that have come in. I found a service that might help me create some warm leads and get busy. So, like I said earlier in this video, I need to make a decision. Do I want to get serious about building my own little sole proprietorship into a real company? Or do I want to give up 8 hours a day working for someone else? Because that was what happened this morning. I had a job interview I scheduled for Friday, and then work came in personally. So, do I reschedule an interview, knowing I'm about to get paid hundreds of dollars? Or do I do the job interview with the potential that this job interview could turn into a regular job? These are the things I think about. So, have a good night. Happy Wednesday night. I just felt like speaking. Jumping on camera has made me think more about my thoughts in articulation. It's made me think more or pay more attention to exactly what I speak, which helps keep my mind moving. You get lazy when you spend a lot of time as a loner. I mean, I have close friends, but my social circle is small, and my point is I spend a lot of time alone by choice. And when that happens, you don't speak enough. And when you don't speak a lot, you don't enunciate as well because you get lazy. So as I see myself perform, it makes me pay attention. Have a good night.